Hi everyone. In a road traffic collision where a cyclist unfortunately loses their life, some stats show when blame can be apportioned, cyclists are held responsible approximately 33% of the time. In another 13% of these fatalities, joint responsibility can be pointed at both cyclists and motorists. Now that obviously leaves a big chunk and a huge percentage. It's actually in excess of 53% when motorists are solely to blame. But what I'm getting at with this video is, although the bigger danger lies with the motorists against the cyclists, cyclists aren't totally innocent when it comes to cycling fatalities. So we're going to have a little look at some cycling clips today that have been sent in by my viewers, and I'm going to go into them in a little bit more detail. The cyclist in this first clip is a good cyclist. He does send me a few clips, and in fact he's also going to feature in a nice riding episode that's going to be out shortly. But this clip I'm not too sure about. This one's up for discussion. Taking up a primary position to stop people overtaking when there's not enough room is fair enough, but when you think that they can't see far enough is a different matter. The solid lines in the middle of the road are now restricting people from crossing or overtaking this cyclist unless he's at 10 miles an hour or under, and he did admit that he was under 10 miles an hour, so any overtake would be legal. But if I was cycling, I wouldn't have made this decision. Let me explain. The distortion of our camera means that the corner up ahead is a lot closer than it actually looks. However, it also distorts what any potential overtaking vehicle could actually see round that corner from the left, especially if they're way out to the right over that solid line. Now, I'm not saying this is correct, but the position that the van overtakes in may very well have given him enough view to make this a safe overtake. Let's have a look at it. Now, have a look at this junction on the right hand side, because when our cyclist arrives at this junction, our view up that road is well good enough. So being really wide would have opened it up well sooner. I did ask the cyclist whether he thought sometimes doing the correct things can lead to potentially more reckless behaviour from drivers that he's encountered, and I specifically asked him whether taking up this primary position could maybe encourage a more dangerous overtake. He agreed that the possible severity of a bad overtake actually increases, but he actually thought that this was a better option because he said the probability of an overtake in general goes down. Now this is because him taking up this primary position filters out a lot of the overtakes, but not all of them. And for me, this is not a good mindset. It's actually pretty scary to me to think that a cyclist on the road would rather the numbers of overtakes be lowered and him only have to deal with the most severe ones. I can't see how that can be a good option in anyone's book, because we should be trying to reduce risk across the board, and especially when there's a serious risk of injury or collision. In this clip, this rider shows many of the traits that are shown towards cyclists from most motorists. Travelling too close, then gets annoyed at someone holding them up, so they can just proceed down the road and then go and sit at a red light. That's quite ironic for me. Here's the view from behind, and I'm sure cycling in London, especially around Westminster, is going to be tricky and really busy at times. But the key has to be working together and not pointing the finger at everyone who we think has held us up. Yeah, this lady should have done better, but honestly, it didn't really matter, as you were going to be stuck at these lights until they changed onto green anyway. In this clip, the camera work isn't particularly good, but it is strapped to our cyclist's head. Now, he's approaching a roundabout, and there's a little bit of conflict with the van that's ahead of us emerging. The van did make a bad move, but let's have a quick look at this again. If I just pause it here, I had to explain to our cyclist that there's no in the world the van could have seen him at this point. He didn't even get onto this himself. So even though it is the responsibility for motorists to do more to look out for cyclists, cyclists have to step up to the plate themselves a bit more, because this was always going to happen. To be fair though, in the end, holding back and using the horn in the way that he did saved the problem from getting any worse. So good on him. However, he didn't do a brilliant job after. I don't think riding on the pavements is allowed, is it? And you sent me this clip and expected me not to show it? And while we're talking about the safety of pedestrians, let's go back and have a look at the start of the clip. This is a pedestrian crossing he approached. Even though he did have priority and he did sound his horn to warn, the speed that he actually rode past these pedestrians was way too fast. They could have easily tripped and fell rushing to get out of this cyclist's way. This was recorded by a fellow driving instructor, and this is something that I wish cyclists would stop doing. It puts everyone at danger, including them. Speed before safety never works. And here's the classic situation where I always hear cyclists say, well, it doesn't affect anyone apart from the cyclist. But this guy jumping a red light, if a motorist kills that cyclist, of course it affects the motorists. It will live with them for the rest of time. This video is not designed to create more divide between motorists and cyclists. There's enough of that going on YouTube, people trying to stir it up, and all across the internet as well. So this isn't what this video is all about. I'd just like to remind people of the stat at the start of the video. And it's when there is a cycling fatality, when blame can be apportioned, remember, over 53% of the time, it's the motorist's fault. And that's the biggest one that people can take from this video. But don't forget, you cyclists, you're not innocent in this. Sometimes you're the cause of your own problems. So do your little bit as well, if you can. Keep safe. I'll see you all soon.